Today we're diving into Poway right here in San Diego, also known as the city in the country. You have a little bit of suburban, you have a little bit of that rural feel. A lot of people who are making the move here in San Diego do have Poway on their list for a ton of different reasons, from the amenities to the schools to the houses to a ton of other reasons. So that's what we're diving into, everything you need to know about living right here in Poway. So let's get into that right now. So first off, where is Poway? Poway is in northern San Diego, just due east of the 15 freeway, one of the main north-south corridors right here in San Diego. And basically at the end of the 56 freeway kind of drops off right here. You keep following it, you're gonna end up right in Poway, just south of Escondido. And this open space right here is another section that we've covered a bunch, is called Rancho Bernardo. So right on the border there, just north of Scripps Ranch as well. And if you don't live here and you've been to San Diego, you're flying in right down here to the international airport, right down in the heart of downtown San Diego. Poway is just about 26 to 45 minutes, obviously depending on traffic. Right now we have it set to leaving at Saturday at 8 a.m. So there is no main freeways. So yeah, if you do have to travel a lot or you have to get out and about, it could be a little bit of a drive, because once again, you're gonna have to drive to the freeway, and Poway goes out pretty far out here. We'll show you some neighborhoods. It goes pretty far up to the north. So this is just from the central area of Poway. Basically, you're gonna take one of the main roads, get down to the 15 freeway. You're gonna split off to the 163 is gonna bring you into downtown San Diego. You're gonna cut across and you're gonna be at the airport right there. And then one thing about Poway, we are a bit further inland, so you're not in any of the coastal zones, Encinitas, Solana Beach, La Jolla, etc. You're pretty far inland. But as far as getting to the beach, once again, same time frame. We're looking at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. Take into account weekdays, you know, traffic times, all that. It's gonna take longer. This 56, you're definitely gonna hit some traffic, especially at certain points in here. But 22 to 35 minutes, depending on when you are leaving. Pretty straight shot. This has you going up north or down south a little bit. The straightest shot just going straight across to the 56. And just like growing up here, it's like, where's the closest beach? What's the straightest shot? Like, I grew up here in San Marcos, so our beaches were just going down to the end of the 78. So we go to Oceanside or Carlsbad. Those are just the easiest, straightest shots. Same for down here in Poway. You're likely gonna go straight. Now, if you wanna go a little bit north, you get hit up Solana Beach. If you wanna go a little bit south, a little bit further of a trek, you can go down to La Jolla. But just a quick straight shot, you're looking just around probably about 25 to 30 minutes to get to the coast. And Poway's looking about a small to mid-sized city right here in San Diego. You're looking about population of about 50,000 or so. And I'll show you some of the highlights. It's bigger on the map, but there's some open space, there's some areas. So why are people actually moving to Poway? What's the vibe like? Like I said, the nickname is the city in the country. So as far as central area goes, we're just gonna keep Old Poway as a central area. This is where you're gonna find Old Poway Park. There is a little railway going around here. I think I just read they are in cahoots, or they're in with somebody who is running this. The city of Poway doesn't actually run it, but they just re-upped it. So I believe they said it's the only actual working train inside of a park here in California. So pretty cool. But anyways, right around Old Poway Park is going to be our central area. And so while Poway, yes, it is a lot of suburbs, like we do have a lot here in San Diego, you're gonna find a lot of single family homes out here in Poway. About 80% of the homes are single family homes. So if you're looking townhome condo, you're definitely gonna find a few in a certain areas, but for the most part, it is all single family homes. And as you get to certain areas, which I'll show you here, you are getting some more space. You are getting more rural. You are getting into some of those areas where you have bigger lots, where you have bigger yards. You're definitely more spread out. So we'll jump into all that as well. I mean, Poway definitely has that old school kind of rural vibe. They still have the rodeo here every single year right over this way. So the rodeo this year is September 25th and 26th. And I was just looking at this and they're already sold out for Friday and for Saturday. So it's definitely a popular event. I believe my folks went to, they didn't go to the Poway one last year, they went to the Valley Center one, which if you want a little more affordable, you still want some space, this Valley Center is a little bit further out. That could be another option if you're liking the vibe here in Poway. But yeah, it's just got those old school vibes right here in Poway. And as you're going through, you're gonna find lots of open space, especially to the east. In between some of these canyons and valleys over here, you're gonna find some open space. But as far as neighborhoods go, there's a lot of different styles of neighborhoods. So as we go to the northern section of Poway, these are some of the more expensive areas. As you get out to Madeiras out here, You're gonna find just these big old homes all kind of around the golf course and surrounding these hills out here. So bunch of pools, bunch of huge square footage. You'll find some of the athletes here in San Diego live out this way, or have in the past at least, but a big old area out there where you're gonna find some bigger homes, definitely some more expensive homes. Beautiful golf course out at Maderas. So as far as sizes of homes, types of homes, you're gonna find a bunch of different ones where some neighborhoods are gonna be these bigger style homes, a little bit spread out. Some are gonna be a little bit tighter homes. In here, there is a brand new community that we actually covered in our vlog right here. So if you want, go check that out. We do a full tour of this whole area right here. But the farms, one thing about Poway and most other areas of San Diego, or North County San Diego at least, you're not gonna find a ton of new construction, but this is a brand new construction up here. And you can see it's a cool little community. They did also leave a little bit of space in here. So some areas when they're building these new communities out, like all this space is taken, but they left a little bit right here in the farms right here in Poway. So from the farms, we'll go a little bit further to the east. We'll off one of the main drags here. Let's spin us around. This is a big area called Green Valley, where you're gonna find a bunch of, not necessarily large, I mean, there are larger homes in here, but it's definitely more spread out. It's definitely more space. If you want a little bit more of that tranquility, there's no, you know, we're on, I call it a main road. It's not really a main road, but we're on one of the main roads, but it's kind of tucked away back here where you're gonna find some peace and quiet. You're gonna find it more spread out, which is kind of a lot of the vibe of different areas right here in Poway. Some custom homes out here as well. And then as we go, let's get us back north to south. As we go out here, you follow this, you're gonna find some gated communities over here. You're gonna find some more bigger homes in this section where you got a bunch of large homes where you're gonna find tennis courts, pools, all that kind of stuff. Obviously more expensive, but if you're looking that style, like I said, there's multiple areas where you can find that, where you want kind of like your compound, you want a lot of that stuff that you're gonna be doing at home, where you want a lot of that entertainment, a lot of that space, a lot of that bigger homes, bigger footprints. You're gonna find a lot of that right here in certain sections of Poway. As we go out to the east, this is where we're getting even more rural. Now this is definitely way more spread out, and it's going to be up on a hill here. So kind of go up the hill, you're gonna find going out, beautiful views in a lot of these homes up here, but you're looking back at the whole valley here in Poway. So you do have more of that. That's even more spread out there as you're going out there. And then as we're going back towards like Old Poway, you're gonna find some suburban neighborhoods right here. You know, a lot of pools in the backyards. You're gonna find some single family homes. And we help some clients buy a house right in this little section. And this is like, when I think Poway, this is kind of like, yeah, you have the big homes, you have some of the gated communities, but I think this is the style that I think of most, especially going up here. When I'm thinking Poway, I'm thinking kind of this style where you have some of these older, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s style homes, like master plan communities, but built back in the day. A lot of single story homes, a lot of room. You know, it's not super tight in here. You do have some yard space, but this is kind of like typical Poway when I'm thinking of it. And it's not just this area. You're gonna find a bunch of other areas spread out through different areas of Poway. And some of these areas are even built for equestrian. So, you know, like I said, back to the rural, back to that kind of style. Like, let me find right in here. We were filming the other day, and as you're coming out of this stoplight, you'll see some of the stoplights where they have these guys, where it's like a crosswalk, but it's a little bit higher because you're on a horse. So you're cruising around in Poway on a horse. You're gonna find some of these trails going around where you do have, you know, some of that vibe still, some of these equestrian properties. You'll see horses cruising around out here and potentially crossing some of the main streets. So what about weather right here in Poway? Now you're a little bit further inland, so you're not in these cooler coastal zones right here, where you do get some more heat out here. You get definitely some hotter days than other areas right here in San Diego. But as far as weather goes, you're gonna be, like, if you do want more of those sunny days where you want less of that marine layer. So a lot of times these coastal areas are gonna have a marine layer going in as, you know, some moist, cooler air comes off the coast here. It sits around for a while. Sometimes it's socked in all day over here, where once you get out to these sections out here, it's nice, it's sunny. Especially if you're, like we mentioned the beach earlier, if you're going from Poway to the beach, maybe check some surf cams, maybe check some other, you know, ways to see kind of what's going on down by the coast, because it could be drastically different from weather here to once you get to the coast. I mean, it could be 15 degrees difference, if not a little bit more, depending on what time of year you're going. Sometimes even like certain areas inland. So it could be totally different climates from where you're living to where you're heading. So just be aware of that. But all in all, it's fairly temperate. Let's go with the low lows, where you're looking at 66 in December, 46 in the evenings or nights, and peaking out in the summers in August, 84, going to 65 at night. So definitely cooler nights, which is pretty nice. You can pop those windows open, you get a whole house fan, bring in some of that cooler air. We just had a client move out. He was moving from a much hotter area, but still getting a little bit warm. He's a little bit inland like here. He's got a whole house fan. He said, boom, game changer, helped out a ton. So a lot of these homes, yeah, they might have AC, but like I mentioned, a lot of them are older, so maybe they don't. You can always add it later, just an additional cost if it doesn't already have it. So just keep that in mind. You're gonna have some hotter days out here in Poway. Sometimes, you know, it says 84 is the top. Sometimes you could definitely get well above that into the 90s. And you know, sometimes you get a little bit below that. So we're just looking at averages here. Now, it's not to say it's always hot out here. It's not to say you're never gonna get fog. So I live by the coast, and I was going out to hike Potato Chip Rock. So I'll get into that here in a sec. So I was cruising out from the coast. I was cruising down here, hit up these roads, kind of came over. This whole time I was coming through Rancho Bernardo from the coast. It was insanely foggy. It was like hard to see too far in front of you foggy, like coming up to a stoplight. Couldn't really even see the stoplight until you got right up on it. So, I mean, it was crazy foggy. As I was cruising down, I was heading out to Lake Poway. Cruising down, finally took a cut off on Lake Poway Road right here. And as you go here, there's a little bit of elevation change, so you're going up a little bit. And as I got to the lake, it was perfectly clear. So it was just like crazy socked in for a lot of the areas. But that brings us to our next point, is amenities right here. And one of them being all these hiking trails, all this outdoor space right here in Poway. So as I cruised out, I ended up parking right near Lake Poway. There's multiple ways around, but took one of these trails, cruising around right here. You head up, I think it was about 4 miles or so up. You're going into the hills here, and you get some nice elevation. I think at the top is about 3,000 foot elevation. But as you're going up right here, you're gonna go up and up and up. This is one of the highlights right here. A lot of people come up for Potato Chip Rock. We'll cut in a picture of it right here, but just this big rock that overhangs here. But even from up here, like halfway up the hike, it started to kind of clear up, but all of these valleys were all socked in with fog. So you could see some of these peaks popping out over here, but everything else was just like cloudy, cloudy, cloudy. So yeah, you're gonna have some of those days too. So let's get into a few other amenities. So yeah, you do have hiking. There's a ton of hiking. You go up to the preserve up here as well. I actually met a dude right here before I started going up, and he had started over in Ramona. He said it was like 4:45 in the morning. So he started way out this way and ended up coming to there. So you could hike, I mean, you could hike quite a ways out there. But anyways, you got a lot of hiking. So there's some main hiking to the east there. There's some little spots in the interior spots of Poway. But you have Lake Poway, you can go fishing out there. There's a bunch of guys fishing. It's not a huge lake. It's like a lot of our lakes here, little man-made lakes, you know, it's nothing too crazy, but they do stock it. There's also a little, kind of like a little restaurant, get some coffee. Cool place to grab a coffee, grab a little breakfast sando, overlooking the lake. You can rent boats and all that stuff there too. And for any baseball fans, even if you guys aren't San Diego Padre fans, obviously if you're relocating from somewhere, drop me a comment. I want to hear where you guys are fans of, because we got the Padres here, but you can go down to Petco and get some, you know, even when your team comes in town, you're gonna find a lot of your fans down there. So anyways, longtime resident of Poway right here, Tony Gwynn. He's got a little statue right here in the park. So a little extra tidbit about living in Poway. As you can see here, they also have some summer concerts at the Lake Poway right there. Then I mentioned where we were earlier. So let's head back to Old Poway, where you have the little park right there. So you're gonna find a lot of these little parks. You have some ball fields here. You have Old Poway Park, there's the community park down to the south here. So you're gonna find some parks spread out, right? If you got kids, parks are important. There's gonna be some neighborhood parks set up here. So you're gonna find plenty of those to get out and about. But this is kind of like let's call it like, this is Old Poway, but this is like the downtown area of Poway. Now there's another shopping center I'll show you here in a sec, but right here in Poway, right at the Poway Park, there's a little hamburger spot. but you have a little beer bar right here. You have some barbecue spots. You have cool little shops. You have cool little places, the market over here. So it's a cool little vibe down here. It's kind of old school. You have the little main drag going through here, and Old Poway Village. Once again, just one of the amenities right here if you're going out and about to check out in Poway. Another shopping center, if you more, like convenience wise, more big box. You do have, actually this is kind of cool, right on the edge here. You do have an Amazon Fresh store right here. It's not too old. It's only been here for, let's say, less than a year, 2 years, something like that. I don't know. Anyways, it hasn't been there a long time, but you do have a little shopping center there. And then if you're living in that northern section, you can go hit some of the places in Rancho Bernardo. If you're living kind of in this area down to the south, you go to some of the shopping centers right off Poway Road right here. You do have like your Lowe's, you do have like Home Goods, Sprouts, shopping. You do have the AMC theaters down here. You have Brigantine, a local restaurant group right here. Got some good seafood and whatnot. So anyways, this southern section is where you can find a lot of those standard things, just convenience wise, where you could hop down here and kind of figure out what you need. It's not too far from a lot of these neighborhoods, especially to the south, and it just makes this whole area somewhat convenient. And then just due south of this is where you're gonna find the business district. So some of this obviously is business, but a bigger business district right here in Poway. So there's a bunch of different companies in here. So if you're working at any of these, Poway should definitely be on your list if you want a super easy commute. There's also some other areas down to the south where you have Scripps. You can go to Sabre Springs. You can go to a few other areas, Rancho Penasquitos, kind of off the 56. All those are going to be easy shots to this. So if you are working at any of these companies in here, you have all of this infrastructure right in the southern section of Poway. So I'm gonna show you a few homes right here in Poway, give you an idea of the difference in pricing, difference in, kind of some differences in areas where you can find some more expensive homes, some more affordable homes, all that kind of stuff. But if we're looking back 12 months, right now we're at the end of 2025, so this could all change. If you guys are thinking about moving out here at different times, all this information is going to be the same, but some of these numbers definitely could change depending on when you're moving out here. So if you do want to dive in and figure out if Poway is right for you, if some of these areas might work for you, and you want to know, okay, here's my budget, what areas might work for me right in Poway, or we could dial into a few other areas as well, definitely hit us up. I'm Chris Erickson. We got a real estate crew right here in San Diego, and we got your back when making the move here in San Diego. But over the last 12 months, median price point for a single family home is $1.26 million. Now, I'll show you a few areas that are gonna be a little bit less than that. I'll show you some areas that are well above that. But as far as townhomes, condos, once again, not too many. So while there was 329 closed sales over the last 12 months, single family homes, there's only been 28 townhomes / condos. So not a ton in that. Like I said, if you want townhome condo in some of these price points, we'll definitely identify some of those areas with you when we hop on a Zoom call. But the median price of a condo over the last 12 months is about $730,000. So checking out some homes here, we're looking in our search tool right here. You look, we're up around Madeiras. You're looking at, $4.5 million. You're looking at almost 10 million. You're looking at about 7 million. Some of these homes are beautiful homes, 7-bed, 8.5 bath, almost 14,000 square foot homes. So a lot of home out there you can get. Obviously the price point's a little bit more, but if you had that square footage in Rancho Santa Fe and some of the coastal areas, you're not gonna get nearly as much square footage. So if you want large lots, large homes, this could definitely be an area for you. And then as we make our way down to some of these master plan communities, you're gonna find prices in the 1.7 range. As we go a little bit further down, like some of the Green Valley, bigger lots out there, you're looking about 1.85. As we get into that Old Poway area, you're gonna see some of these are like the single family homes, the kind of the older single family 1-story homes, where you're looking at 4-bed, 2-bath, just shy of 2,000 square foot for 1.1. And then you have some more neighborhoods out to the east, a little master plan community over here, 1.25. And then as we get into that area I mentioned over here, you're looking at 1.15. And then this guy right here is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 1,800 square foot for 900,000. And then here is the townhomes condo. So you're gonna find a few up north. You're looking at 959,000, 2 bed, 2 bath, 1,600 square foot, more of that townhome style. You get to kind of see it up here, which is a lot of our condos slash townhomes right here in San Diego. Once you get out of the downtown areas, you're gonna find a lot of them are more like, you know, sharing a wall, sharing 2 walls, townhome style. And then we go a little bit further to the south here, looking at 925,000, once again, like townhome style. You got a garage here, but 3 bed, 2 bath, almost 1,300 square foot right here. Now, what about future growth in Poway? Like some other areas maybe have, like Escondido just got a new master plan community approved, a few hundred homes. But Poway is a paradise of single family zoning and protected open space. So the city of Poway is a haven for single family homes. Picture tree-lined streets, sprawling manicured lawns, and long driveways. It's a dream within the American dream. Much of Poway's land is made up of larger lots, each zoned for single family homes instead of multifamily homes like apartment complexes or townhomes. And outside those single family home neighborhoods, the land is also protected from development. Roughly 53% of Poway is protected open space. So here's a quick view of the open space in Poway. You can see big areas that are probably never going to be built on. But as we're going down, what about Poway's housing goals? With less developable land than many other cities and single family zoning covering most of what's available, Poway is building new housing at one of the slowest rates in San Diego County. Now you're gonna find some new construction, smaller infill projects, but kind of the vibe of Poway and how it currently is kind of likely going to be what it's going to be for a long time. Now, a few things to keep in mind. So like I mentioned, here are some of the trails in Poway coming off from Lake Poway as you're heading here. They don't just end here. Some of them do continue outside of the Poway area. There's also a bunch of hiking around Lake Hodges. You can go, like I said, some to the south here, some right in the center. So a lot of hiking and outdoor space right here in Poway. But one thing you want to keep in mind, especially moving to San Diego, especially moving to an area with a lot of open space, is the fire hazards, which a lot of San Diego has these areas. So it's just that we've seen over recent years, insurance costs have gone up quite a bit, especially in areas in high fire zones. Now, don't let this scare you away. The insurance companies use their own maps. And so sometimes you might see it on, like, maybe you're looking on Redfin or Zillow and, you know, they show fire zones. Sometimes you're gonna see that the home might be in the fire zone, but we could always call an insurance broker and figure out where it is, kind of get some of those estimates for you. It's not necessarily not getting homeowners insurance for your property, fire insurance. It's mostly what's the cost going to be. As we have seen insurance providers pull out of California and some of the ones that are here hiking prices, we have seen that cost go up. So that is one thing you are going to want to know if you are living out here in Poway. You're going to find a lot of this area is likely going to be in higher fire zones. Now, what about schools in Poway? So Poway is feeding to Poway Unified School District. Definitely a highly rated school district if you're looking on any of the websites. So the Poway Unified School District operates 40 schools serving the communities of Forest Ranch, so Del Sur, Torrey Highlands, Rancho Penasquitos, Carmel Mountain Ranch, Poway, Rancho Bernardo, and Sabre Springs. So you'll see it's not just necessarily living in Poway. If you want some of the school districts, there's a lot of other areas. Rancho Bernardo was one of them. Forest Ranch. You have Rancho Penasquitos. You have some other areas that are feeding into the Poway School District. So you don't necessarily have to live in Poway to go to the Poway School District, but there are some other options. And if you want to be at a specific school, like you're looking at, you know, maybe go to the website, Poway Unified School District, and you find a school that offers specific programs that you want for your kids. It has specific sports that you want for your kids. You know, like if you're looking specific like that, you could hop into some of these maps and kind of figure out, okay, I want to be within this zone here, because here are all the elementary schools. We also have all of the middle schools here. You can see obviously there's only a handful of the middle schools. And then once you get into high schools, there's only a few high schools as well. So depending on where you're living is dependent on where you are going to these schools. And even though they're in the Poway Unified School District, not all the schools are located within Poway. And so if Poway is on the list and you want a little bit more info, go check out that next video popping up where we take you on a vlog tour, show you some of these neighborhoods that we just talked about, and let you know what Poway is all about, like boots on the ground. We also have a pros and cons video if you want to dive into that as well, just some more intel on Poway. But if you are thinking about moving out here and you are ready to start that conversation, we would love to earn your business. I'm Chris Erickson and got my partner Cassie Lewis, and we have a real estate crew right here in San Diego, and we got your back when making the move here to San Diego.